Well, the gap that this book really fulfills is in how it delivers the first ever comprehensive step-by-step brand defining process, which is often overlooked as a business building strategy for a solid foundation that really fosters brand success. Brand DNA doesn't focus on the external marketing strategies typical of hundreds of other business books out there today. We call this the missing piece to business success because what's missing is this internally focused process that forces the business brand to dig deep into the core of its own brand. Assessing its style, its values, its authentic differentiators, and standards of performance. These all affect culture, processes, and even the way a brand speaks about itself. The results provide a brand roadmap, so to speak, that engages all employees to live and embody the brand, creating a real consistent, very relevant and distinctive experience for the customers. After all, customers are challenged with all these other competitor choices, right? So they tend to actually buy and choose the ones that offer more of an experience or is really in with alignment with their own brand values and expectations. So that's what this book covers, and that's the gap it fulfills out there in the small business market space of building their own businesses. Brand DNA was written for every brave, motivated, and inspired entrepreneur and seasoned business owner who desires to really define, create, and build the best, most consistently memorable brand experience in their industry, and also are dedicated to walk their brand talk. It's also for those businesses who believe their employees are their greatest assets and who are particular about customer care and really seek to differentiate themselves on a daily basis. It's also designed for those who are in the business they love and are passionate about it and desire to really continue to innovate through their own culture, their leadership, and their processes. That's what our book was written for. I love this question because this is really why we're in business. This is why we do what we do, because there's this gap and misunderstanding the difference between marketing and branding. So, many business owners use the external function of marketing to really build their business without having done the internal work necessary to create the experiences that help secure and retain the customers they're hoping the marketing campaigns bring in. Does that make sense? So it's very, very common and unfortunate oversight, which creates a never-ending cycle of spending more valuable cash on even more marketing messages, still without the internal processes in place that ensure a very powerful, consistent customer experience of the brand. So the brand DNA process is really focused on internal attribute creation of the brand itself before focusing on the customer per se. This unconventional way of thinking is at first kind of difficult for the business really to get used to, but can create a huge paradigm shift in how the business sees itself and in turn begins to express its authentic brand from this point on, particularly to its customers. So this is what makes the process so compelling and valuable to those who truly seek differentiation in the eyes of their customer. And their employees, of course. We can't forget about the employees because this is an internal activity. It's an internal strategy. Now, our process really lays that groundwork for all the actions and the behaviors and the decisions that come up and even the external marketing messages then that follow to supplement the growth strategy. So the messages are out there speaking about the brand, and then when the customer comes in to experience it, the brand is actually walking its talk in a space even so elevated that the customer is just moved and creates these great memorable experiences. So this is exactly why we like to tell our clients when they start working with us to stop marketing for now, right? Let's start branding. Let's start doing this process of identifying the perceptions, your DNA, that groundwork, so that we can begin creating that experience and then talking about it internally so all of your employees and all your stakeholders understand it and then begin living it. That's what creates the wholeness, that gestalt kind of great brand building technology or strategy. So that's why we're in business, because we're fulfilling that gap. That gap, again, I talked about earlier, that this book fulfills in our process, Brand DNA fulfills for small business. So what is a brand, you ask? Well, it's a very important question, and understanding that is key. You know, most people think of brand as a logo or brochures or taglines or all the physical and external communication pieces representing the brand. The reality is a brand is so much more than these aspects alone. We define a brand as a perception. Write that down. It's a perception that lives in the minds of your markets and your employees. So that perception is actually driven by experience with the brand, either directly or indirectly. You know, and as human beings, we are constantly gathering information through all of our senses about a brand and logging that data into our brain. You know, the experience that we take in is the stimulus that causes these emotions, which in turn creates an impression or perception in our minds, right? So every action the brand takes either contributes to or takes away from that perception in some way, shape, or form. And businesses have many different yet powerful ways to control these perceptions in their favor. Our process really helps them discover and leverage those ways for their own competitive advantage and their own uniqueness and differentiation in creating that memorable experience for their customers. It really helps them turn their customers into advocates, which we call your no-cost sales force. So that's why it's so important to understand what a brand is, and that you as a business owner can actually control that. And you can begin building those experiences, but you've got to know who you are as a brand. You've got to know that DNA in order then to construct that perception. So that's what we teach in our book. Discovering your business's unique genetic code, or its DNA, lays the critical groundwork for defining the key attributes and authentic differentiators to who you really are as a brand. This information may currently lie in the minds of the owners, but if not clearly defined and really mapped out, then no other stakeholder, including your employees, can fully understand and embrace it. And if your employees don't understand, then your customers never will, right? So our brand DNA process guides the business to discover what their brand stands for and helps them create the behaviors and the actions to support and affirm their brand to their employees and to their customers. It's written down on paper. We have real attributes to then begin building that perception that I just talked about, right? The brand. So similar to a GPS, Brand DNA affords you the opportunity to input your unique attributes and differentiators and assists you to arrive at the end result, a relevant, highly consistent, and very distinctive brand DNA that is memorable to your customers. Again, turning those customers into advocates. So that's how it helps, helping business really build it to the next level or elevate it. Well, the book actually conveys the brand DNA process a little bit different than our online training program that's available for small business as well with the downloadable workbook. So the book actually is a business novel, and it follows a budding entrepreneur named Meg who left corporate America to start her own dream business like all of us, or most of us did. And that business is an environmentally and human-friendly body care product company. And she, like many other entrepreneurs, faced so many hurdles, right, when starting their business. We all know those. Through an online workshop, she is exposed to the Brand Ascension group and wins a complimentary consultation. She then actually hires the BA group to help her get through this brand DNA process, our DNA dimensional nucleic acids. And so through the book, we take her through these scenarios, and it's written where there's the challenge, where we have a situation with her and we move her through that situation, and then there's a consultant's corner type of thing where we turn back to the reader and we talk to them about this situation, and then we actually put the activities together to get them through to the next level and walk them through this process. It's a really powerful process. We highly recommend that the company that goes through the process, engage their employees as part of this process, because having that brain power is good, and also having that buy-in and that feeling from the employee that they're able to contribute to the success of the brand and building the brand attributes, that DNA. So that's how the book conveys it. It's, like I said, a little bit different than our online program, which is composed of a little bit more case studies and more flow of like a classroom style. But we do have a lot of great examples, and we get you into the work as quickly as possible so that you guys can start reaping the results. But you know, with this book and the online program, you can literally get through it. We think a good pace is 30 days or less. And then you can start implementing it and start living it. So it's real powerful. So one of the things I really like about the Brand DNA book is that it's highly experiential, which is an attribute that Brand Ascension has as well. We like to be very experiential in the delivery of our consulting and our training programs. So in this book, as I mentioned, it's a novel, but you get to walk through all of these exercises. It's really, really interesting. And you actually see the outputs that Meg and her team finish in these exercises. So you get examples of their outputs. So you get a sense of how you would go about doing something, but of course do it in your own way. And when you get to the point where you want to start doing the activities, you certainly don't have to write tiny in these books. There's a code in the book, once you purchase it, to go online and download a full-size workbook, which is great. And then you can print off copies for your team, and everybody can get engaged in putting this brand DNA all together, and then you can begin living it together and having some fun. I mean, this is what really re-energizes and refreshes brands a lot of the time. We've worked with brands that are startups. We've worked with companies that have been in business for 7 years, 11 years, and they get revived and revitalized in understanding who they are. And they've got all these great new ideas to create these perceptions and these experiences internally in the workplace with their cultures and externally in the customer experience. So that's what's so exciting about this particular book and this process. It's just it's a great way to create some transformation and a paradigm shift in how the business grows and elevates itself. So you can purchase the book on our website, or you can go on iuniverse.com, that's our publisher, or it's on Barnes & Noble and Amazon.com. So go out and get it. It's a lot of fun. Thank you so much.